Hello everybody and welcome back to Taking Care of Business, the podcast by Allsopp Allsopp, Dubai's leading and largest real estate brokerage in Dubai. We have a lot to talk about today. It's been a couple of months since we've been on the podcast, so a few things we wanted to talk about this year. 2021, what a year it's been so far, and we'll dig in a little bit more in regards to the data. We wanted to talk about the big 2040 vision, which was announced in the past week. Prices and the trends we're going to cover today, and some couple of business announcements we're going to touch on, which are very exciting for the future of Allsopp and Allsopp. So 2021, Lewis, what's happened this year? It's been a crazy one, hasn't it? Nearly 3 months in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's unprecedented. If you said in March last year that in 2021 there would be a boom of property prices, activity, people buying houses, you would have laughed at people. But this is not a Dubai trend. I think that's important for everyone to know. Anyone that's interested in the property market, I have friends who work in the San Diego market and the California market and markets around the world, and I've been on to them and said, look, what's going on? And in America at the moment, people are saying that they're getting one property and they're getting 14 offers on a property. Wow. So as much as we think it's a Dubai bubble which is happening, it's not. So yeah, it's very interesting. The market is on fire, basically. It
defies logic, doesn't it? We're practically an anniversary now where Dubai went into a lockdown 12 months ago, and now we're talking about a market that, quite frankly, is on fire.
Yeah, worldwide, it definitely defies logic. I mean, when you look at Dubai, you can point to 6 years of price declines leading to this stage, the loan to value changing, the interest rates, although that's the same in America, being at record low levels. But and the attraction of why a lot of money and wealth is coming to Dubai at the moment. But for the worldwide trend, to a certain extent, yeah, it does defy logic. There must be, it's obviously not all just, well, it can't just all be factual things that are happening. There must be a lot of sentiment that's driving the market as well.
There's a lot of emotion involved in it. I think a lot of people are buying property, and there's emotion, there's feel-good factor. There's also, I think people need to understand the property market. It's not for an estate agency or for the property market. It's not about the prices going up or down. It's about, for us, the market moving. So when someone loses their job, or someone effectively increases their revenue from the pandemic, whether they've got a gloves or mask business or a sanitizer business, and they capitalize an e-commerce business, there are movements. If someone loses their job, they have to downsize. Someone might have to move back to the UK or their home country, and that's how the property market works. If that needle moves just the slightest, it creates a property for sale, it creates a new purchaser, and that cycle has just accelerated. You've seen it. The only way I could describe it, it's like a cocktail shake. It's just being shaken, and the market is just around the world going crazy.
I mean, I think it's quite easy to say that it caught us all by surprise last summer, this property market. But I think what a big driver of what's happening around the world at the moment is stimulus. So you look at Dubai last April, May, they increased the loan to value, so more people are able to afford to buy. Obviously, in the UK, they've postponed stamp duty, where there's been a mad rush of people looking to buy a property. Yeah. So actually, it's been more affordable than ever. That coupled with interest rates as well. So I think obviously we're talking about the market going up and it being quite, it being on fire and lots of things happening. But we've got a bit of data today to share with people just to give you an idea of what's happening on the ground. And when you look at the news, particularly here in Dubai, you always see quite high level numbers of what's happening, and sometimes with the very large corporate agencies with regards to reporting data, they're typically quite out of date, 3 or 4 months behind.
Catastrophically, I'm just going to put it out there. I mean, catastrophically, there's a report recently from S&P, which is the biggest ratings agency in the world. Yeah. I mean, I was on the radio Dubai Eye talking about, and I was laughing to the radio presenter and said, I can't believe how far away these big companies are. I mean, they were announced that the property market is going to go down 20%. And I was laughing and saying, when you did this report, the market's gone up 20%. But this isn't the first time for me. I mean, if you go back to 2008, the big banks then were projecting that Dubai would come out of the recession. And I remember reading those books and, this big bank has told us Dubai's recession proof. So when you're looking at the market, you should look at the people on the ground, because they'll be 3 months ahead of any type of data that you read.
And unfortunately, there was always going to be that suspicion of people claiming us talking the market up. For us, there is no reason to, because in a downward and upward market, we were always doing transactions. But with these big companies reporting these figures, they are reporting off historical completed transactions, and that tends to be quite, a good 3-4 times behind the marketplace. Whereas things we're talking about now, these are things day in, day out, which we're seeing. So I guess, Paul, if you can just share some of the data, what's happening in Dubai at the moment, 2020 versus 2021, and any notable things to talk about.
So definitely, and what I'd preclude it with is, if you remember back to January and February 2020, the start of last year was busy for the property market in Dubai, and it had the feeling then of like transactional levels starting to increase a lot since 2019. So although like we think of last year's COVID, etc., but really January and February are good markers because like I say, the market was busy. And if anyone looks back to news reports last year, they'll see Arabian Business, Gulf News, The National talking about how many transactions in the market. So the reason I'm saying that is it is actually a fair reference point for us to compare against year on year. So what we can see this year, buyers for January and February this year compared to last year, we've increased our buyer registration levels by 85% and tenants registration levels by 93%.
So they're new people inquiring to rent or buy a house, and nearly 100% in both categories.
So that's huge. The one thing I would say, just to a full disclaimer, we've probably increased our marketing budget around 30% in that time.
Yeah.
So we have increased marketing, but you can still see a massive, like you say, near 100% increase in demand. So that can't just be put down to, we've spent a bit more money on marketing. So and not even that, just the transactions in the market, not just reported by us, reported by all the big developers, reported by the land department. They're all saying there's record transactions going on in the market at the moment.
The funny thing that I like with this, and this is again, this podcast will go out to social media, where if you go on the social media platforms, this is not happening.
Yeah.
And the denial of people that when I've had 7 bad years, it's not like it was just every year is a good year, but the minute you place out there, Dubai is booming and the prices are going up and buyers are registering, it's like, that is rubbish, that's a lie to pump the market up. But when you've got developers, the land department, the biggest agency in Dubai going, hey.
Let's not forget the property portals as well, not so recently post, of saying that there is a huge undersupply which is driving prices up.
Big up Houser.com, the #1 property portal in Dubai.
But yeah, I mean, coming back to pricing, I mean, is there anything else you can elaborate there, Paul, with regards to the market behaviour?
So if we can look at average sale prices as well, just bear with me. Let me scroll up the screen.
I can jump in whilst you're doing that, because I've watched scrolling for that. I've got some very interesting data I pulled through from LinkedIn that I put on my post for the what I call the property haters out there. Springs 2M, which is a villa in Emirates Living. We sold in April 1.82 million, exactly the same unit as September, 1.975, and in January we sold for 2.475. Then I've looked at Victory Heights. So a townhouse 2, which is a 3-story PK, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
4-bedroom?
Yep.
Okay. So a townhouse at 1.675 in June. September went for 1.925. And January sold for 2.250. So I follow these trends. So the market has had a major spike and they're still trading.
I mean, when we're talking about spikes, more so in ready villas on the marketplace. There's obviously been quite a big shift from people moving from apartments into villas, obviously a consequence of COVID and lockdown. And we talk about these price rises. So let's say Victory Heights. How many houses in Victory Heights? 800 maximum?
946.
Yeah.
Is that on the money?
Hey?
Is that exactly right?
Well, I'm saying yes, because it sounds about right. It's definitely around that number.
Yeah. So 946 houses, of which probably more than half are probably rented, the other half are probably living in.
Yeah.
So the supply issue is in these communities less than 1,000 properties, because not all of these people are moving. You'd be lucky if you had 5% of the total properties available on the market at that time. The issue with right now is people are probably spending more money on their houses and improving. We're seeing with our partners that they're absolutely flat out people investing in their own homes, which is great to see. But also, it's more expensive to buy on. So people are thinking, well, I need to spend a lot more money to buy on.
The only losers in the property market are the ones that are not on the ladder. Because like you said, if you're selling your house, you're not winning, because unless you're exiting the market, because you're going to buy on again and everything else around you has gone up. But again, trying to get that concept across to people that think that the market's going up and it's that you own the property market, you buy on, you're not winning. It's just, it's a place that you're living and you're paying a little more for it or selling a little more for it.
I mean, obviously with undersupply, I also think, and speaking to a lot of people also, that the way Dubai has handled the coronavirus and the pandemic is probably given more people reason to stay here more medium and long term, rather than looking at more of a short-term environment, and they feel like this is a safer place to be.
Yeah, 100%. And I think if you're looking back towards Europe at the moment, or like we're all from the UK, if you're in Dubai at the moment and you have the choice of whether to stay in Dubai or go back to the UK, why would you go back to the UK at the moment? And I feel awful saying that, 'cause I've got lots of family and friends
10
there.
days
It's
lockdown as well.
Yeah.
10 days holiday.
Just the general economy and what's happening over there. And don't forget, all these countries have been just printing money for almost a year now to sustain the economy. That's going to, tax is going to rise. That has to be paid
I
for.
will say what old Rishi Sunak's done to prop the economy up has been incredible.
Yeah.
All the things, but someone will have to pay for it at some
Exactly.
point.
And I just want to make this clear: we own business here. We
Yeah.
own businesses. We've not had one handout from the Dubai government, and how they've dealt with it being tax free. It is going to have a major positive knock-on effect, because you think about it, as an owner of a business, we've had to negotiate with landlords, with property portals, any type of marketing, staffing, whatever it may be, deal with that ourselves with no handouts. But that's, I suppose, the trade-off being tax-free. But Dubai will come out of this really with no,
On the front foot,
on the front foot. There's a lot of companies now countries figuring out how we're going to pay it back. So the springboard Dubai and the UAE is on is an exceptional place to be.
What was perfect timing this week, and we'll come back to data in a moment. Hopefully you got some ready for us, Paul, but no pressure. What was perfect timing was the 2040 vision.
Yeah.
Because I think anyone in life wants hope, and they want something to look forward to. And I think with more people seeing this place as a place to live, that announcement, this week where they've got grand plans in Dubai to double population and, to make it a very green place and more beaches, it makes you think, do you know what? Why would I want to go home? This place is only going to get bigger and better and more, friendly towards businesses, and obviously, make it a more enjoyable place to live.
One thing is missing: Greg's.
Greg's, yes.
It brings Greg's to this market.
Yeah.
You might as well close England.
Paul, any data on Greg's?
How much is sausage rolls?
No demand over the last
Is
12
it
months.
£2 for 5 sausage rolls? I think that's what it is.
I've not
Get
been
me-
back
get-
for so long now.
Okay,
I forgot what
serious
it is.
question: hot or cold sausage rolls?
Hot.
Hot.
Cold. It's too greasy.
No.
See, we don't get along. This is why we don't get along.
No, what sauce?
No sauce.
No sauce.
sauce.
What sauce?
Straight out of the packet and eat it.
A bit of tomato ketchup for
Oh,
sausage roll.
Strange man.
Leave the room.
So going back to the sale prices, just while I got it on my screen, the average sale price of our properties.
I thought it was about the average sausage roll.
Go on.
And this is over like hundreds of deals in a month. In February, so what I mean by that, it's a good data set. It's not
Yeah.
like one big sale is going to
Yeah.
massively alter the numbers. February 2020 average sale price was 2.1. February 2021 average sale price is 2.669.
Wow.
So 500k increase in the average sale price.
Which is nearly a 25% jump in average sale price,
Yeah.
which is on the money for
in
where the
terms of what we're
market's at.
saying for March so far, and we are only halfway through March, so this could change and come down by the end of the month. But currently the average sale price is 3.039 million, which I can't remember the last time we were over 3 million for an average sale price. It's years and years and
If
years.
you go back 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, we were nearing 2 million as a 1.9 million as an average purchase price. So
Yeah.
it just shows, I mean, look, the knock-on effect to the market is sellers make money. To be honest with you, the market goes up, estate agents also make money. The market goes up 25%, estate agents were making more money. So it's a knock-on effect across the board. Positive effect for us if you've seen the good and the bad with it. So
The undersupply, though, has caused a little bit of panic. There's two, people I'm aware of that bought houses in the last 6-7 months and have been offered double what they purchased the house for. And
one of them was you, mate.
no comment. Didn't take the offer. But no, it's crazy. In where I live, as people talking about doubling what you purchased a property for 6-7 months ago, that's purely down to nothing being available. And obviously, I've invested in a house, and I think people spending money in the houses have a far greater chance of being sold and getting more money for the house.
I think that's the fear, though. I mean, it's the FOMO, isn't it? The fear of missing out. The amount of people I know that have bought houses, and because there's nothing on the market, before an agent would say, if you don't offer on it, someone else will buy it. It's the old age. Oh, okay, it's a sales trick. at the moment, I've been to viewings and there's queues of people. I'm talking 3 or 4 people waiting. And the thing is, buyers are now starting to figure this out, and they're reading the news that we put out saying, which we'll talk about, there's 8 buyers to 1 listing at the moment. And this all goes back to the undersupply. If you want an oversupply, which people talk about, go far out. Go to Alcal Road, go further down there.
Can you blame people for not believing it though? Because obviously for so long they've been used to this news, and it has really come to a bit of a surprise and quite all of a sudden, hasn't it?
No, I don't think you can blame them, but it's just the way they're so set in the mindset is what I'd say. It's not like, oh, well, that sounds surprising. Can you share some more information? Have you got any more insights? It's just, that's right. People just, the comments we get or the things we hear or people say to us is, that's wrong, you're lying, it's incorrect. Without saying like, okay, well, that doesn't marry up with what my thoughts are. Can you let us know a little bit more about that?
Death to Dubai, that's what we normally go, okay, no, wow, okay.
Yeah, why people hate on it so much.
So we've seen 500,000-600,000 dirham increase in some properties this year, last year. What else have we got?
By the way, that's the average price per across the board. So we're dividing the property value across the amount of units we're doing to give an average price. So it really does even out the fact that is the price.
Yeah. Mortgage transactions year on year so far up just under 44%, 43.64%. So I think what that tells us, obviously you'd expect to rise because there's more deals happening.
Yeah.
But it's telling us that it's the end users that are really driving the market at the moment. It's not so much lots of big investors buying lots of units from developers. It's really the day-to-day end users in the property market. And I think that goes back to people having a look around. People are in Dubai at the moment who maybe at the start of last year were thinking, oh, let's stay in Dubai for another year, then we'll move home, blah, blah, blah. Probably now thinking, well, let's stay in Dubai for another 5 years because
our mortgage department, Allsopp Mortgage Services, shout out, Allsopp Allsopp. Number one. No, they are absolutely flat out, and even the banks are they're breaking at the seams with regards to demand. So,
and that's the caveat really for anyone that's buying a house at the moment. Really, we speak to the head of all the banks, we get preferential rates and everything, but speaking to the banks, they're having delays at the moment on getting sales. For a bit like England, this work from home system is really coming to a head because we're not being able to get liability letters or documents quick enough because it's not a centralized zone. So I think a lot of banks at the moment are saying, hang on a minute, we need to switch this up because what was taking 3 months to get a transaction through is actually taking 4 months now, and it's causing a lot of problems. So it's a good problem to have a few.
What is great with the banks and with the mortgage services is there is a huge appetite still to lend.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's easy to get loans, but there is an appetite. If you fit certain criteria, they will lend you money to buy a house.
Anyone can get a credit card here. Welcome to Dubai. There's your card. Go spend.
What else do we have?
Here's another good stat on the letting side of things. So again, it's over hundreds of transactions, and the reason I say it again is not to be boastful, just to show that it's a large data set we're talking about. Year on year check payments for a rental, one check payment's down 28.5%. So nearly a third down.
Fewer people are paying their rent up front.
Yeah.
By a third, which is massive.
It's a shock when it happens, to be honest with you. I mean, if someone does come in with one check, it's normally a negotiation tool to bring the price down, but most people are paying 6 to 12
This
checks.
is probably just a reaction of COVID and people being more careful now with their money.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the country probably experienced reductions in a salary temporary or whatever.
And uncertainties, maybe people uncertain about. Whilst we're talking about the people buying houses who obviously must be pretty certain that they've got a job, there is unfortunately a lot of people who are maybe less certain about their employment situation. So,
like you.
Well, if I don't pull these stats up, so people aren't wanting to commit everything in one go, which can bring us nicely into Allsopp and Allsopp short-term lettings, which we've also launched.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So short-term lettings is going to cover two main markets. One, the holiday tourism market, which might sound odd because who's travelling around
very
the world
little at the moment, yes.
But I genuinely believe towards the end of this year, going into next year, once a lot of countries' vaccination programs are rolled out, I think there's going to be a tourism boom, not just in Dubai, although Dubai is very popular, around the world, maybe starting next year for a couple of years, because people who would have had 18 months, maybe 2 years of being locked up almost. So
we've also got a little thing called Expo 2020 or 2021.
In which the beautiful thing is, I'm sure we're allowed to talk about it, but we've signed up a couple of countries that want us to locate their staff to our accommodation.
For a 6 month period, yeah.
It's incredible.
So we've got a mandate that we're actually talking to a building owner about today. One country. So the reason it's a country, obviously countries exhibit at the expo.
Yeah.
So it's coming from a government. They want 74 2-bedroom apartments for 6 months. So there's going to be a huge demand for that.
Yeah.
And I also think...
And it's not short term either. Even though it is short term, it's...
That's still 6 months.
Yeah.
Then you got the World Cup in Qatar at the end of next year.
Yeah.
And I know that seems a far away at the moment, but it's not actually that far. And I think there'll be a lot of tourism into Dubai.
But also the other type of people, not just people looking at tourism, we've got people that are looking at more flexible rental options.
Exactly. And that's what led me into the conversation. Yeah, so there's people who maybe are uncertain about the job or they're not sure which way they're going to go. So rather than commit to an annual contract, they prefer to rent somewhere fully furnished, no furniture costs, bills included, etc. And you just know what you're paying month by month. You just take your suitcase.
So if someone's got a property, anyone listening to this that wants to short-term rent their property, what's the process?
Get in touch, drop us a comment, inbox us on all the social channels where this is going to go out. Give us an email, short-term-lettings@allsoppandallsopp.com, or visit the website allsoppandallsopp.com.
Generally pick around 30% more revenue compared to a basic rental.
Yeah, 30% more revenue. And so we're talking about flexibility from the tenant or guest, as we call them in short-term lettings market, point of view, but also as a property owner, you've got a lot more flexibility over your property. Say you're not sure what your plans are for the next year. The notice for a short-term let is 60 days. So at any point, you can give a notice. 60 days later, you got your property back. So if you want to move into it, or more importantly, if you want to sell it or you think you might want to sell it, you only have to give a 60-day notice. A 60-day notice. A lot of people are doing
now because they're going to sell the house in Dubai. You have to give 12 months notice, so it's very quick just to get some money in off it and then get it sold without the headache of having to worry about how long you get tenant out.
So if you're selling your house with Allsopp and Allsopp and you still haven't found a buyer just yet, get in touch with us.
Which would be unusual.
Which would be very unusual. Get in touch with us. We will help generate you an income and then eventually find you a buyer and get sold.
Yeah,
which is good. Come back to that data pool for the fifth time. Where are we with that?
I've got some interesting stats we'll talk about before we think about wrapping up. Largest transactions that we're doing at the moment. This market, as we said, how busy it is. It's the first time in my history of running the company we've been involved and transactions are happening at a larger scale, more comfortably than ever. I mean, I'm looking over the last 3 months. To give you an idea, we sold a villa in Jumeirah Golf Estates 2 weeks ago for over 30 million dirhams. We sold a villa last month in Emirates Hills for over 27 million. We sold an apartment on the Palm for 21 million. And there was a few of the units in there, a commercial floor for 36 million. Now, we would have dreamed about these, doing these transactions 2 years ago. And now it just seems that people are coming out and really willing to invest back into
I think that all comes back to people spending more money here, seeing this place more of a longer term place to be rather than being not sure about, and particularly come back to how they handled the pandemic.
I think it's cheap though, Carl. I think that's important to remember. I know that that's not cheap. We're talking 30 million. But if you compare this to the rest of the world, I don't know if other people do this, but I always be a pretend buyer. I go on Rightmove or I go Homes in the Sun and I search houses in the golf course in Spain or whatever. And you can't buy £1 million golf course villa in a key community in Spain. You just can't do it. You're paying 2 million for something really nice.
Yep.
Here, you give me £1 million and you're on the Ernie Elms golf course.
Yeah.
And the value for money is just, I think it's incredible here at the moment.
What about employment in the city? Obviously, a big driver is increasing population. We've just opened up Allsopp and Allsopp recruitment, have we, in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about why we're doing that.
People need jobs. We're here to help.
They need jobs. So naturally, when people hear Allsopp and Allsopp in Dubai, they always think real estate. We've just opened a recruitment business because we believe for the last 13 years we've spent so much time and energy and money into hiring people that we believe we've developed some real good skills of helping people find the best talent, and we'll be helping anyone find new jobs or companies find new employees. Obviously, not real estate, hiring for our competitors. And the ultimate goal is to introduce technology into recruitment, saving employer, someone like myself, if we can limit the amount of time going through the hiring process, and also if we can save them some money along the way.
Well, and don't forget for the 2040 plan, which is great timing for a recruitment company. I think the target's to almost double the population. I think we're about 3.1 at the moment. The target's go to 5.8 in 2040. So there's 2 or 3 million people there that we need to find jobs for.
We'll help you.
Right, guys. Well, listen, that's enough this week for taking care of business. It's been a really good chat. We've got some really, really cool guests over the next couple of weeks, which I'll share later today on our social channels. Something a little bit different, something to get you all talking and reading about. But until next time, bye.
Bye,
everybody.